Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. September the 10th is our date. Pete Belcastro here with you. I'm a real estate broker with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about, well, all sorts of real estate-related issues and topics. As you can't well imagine, in 7.5 years, we've never run out of things to talk about, and I don't think today is going to be any different. Because really, we're talking about the market and what is going on around Jackson and Josephine County in real estate, residential sales, and well, it's been quite a, as you can imagine, as you know, it has been quite a ride. Jake Rockwell and Rocky Primo were in the house today on the Real Estate Show. They're both brokers with John L. Scott as well. I see them all the time down running around 871 Medford Center. First of all, welcome to the show, fellas. Nice to have you here.
Thanks to be here.
Yeah. So, Jake, let me start with you. The Jake Rockwell Group, you're a relatively new broker around. Tell us how you got started in that world because, it's great to see someone as successful as you in a short period of time.
Sure. Yeah, I got started about 3 years ago, and Rocky here actually was my broker for about 10 years, and I've gone through several other businesses, and I've always been intrigued with real estate. So I decided I wanted to get a little bit closer to the market and jump into the becoming a realtor. Yeah. And so 3 years ago, just came out, building a small real estate business and team, and just kind of never looked back after I got started.
So you two are partners then right now in your group then.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Rocky, nice to have you with your. You're an SOU grad, is that right?
That's right, Pete. Thanks for having us on the show.
Great.
Yes, I graduated back in 2001 with having no idea what I wanted to do for a career in my life, and on a recommendation from a friend, I got into real estate. And 16 years later, here I am. As Jake mentioned, I was working with him on several different type of property investments and whatnot, and eventually he decided to become a broker. And shortly after that, after his sales went through the roof, I decided to join his team.
Smart on your part there.
Join his team, and it's been probably the best thing I've ever done.
Well, you're one of the few guys, Rocky, that started out in your career in real estate. Most of us, like Rocky or myself or Joe, we've all done something else. So you've got a lot of experience for a young guy.
I do, and when I first came into the business, I didn't, and little did I know I was coming up on a big boom and followed by a big crash, and I went through it all. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting seeing it this time around. We're seeing a lot of the same symptoms of the market that we saw previously, but this time is supported by much greater strength. And my feeling is that's going to continue for a while.
Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right. The biggest difference seems to me, and see if you guys agree, is that the lending is different than it was prior. And, Jake, you and I weren't brokers back when the thing was going crazy in 2005 and 6, but it seemed like lending was so different then than it is today. Is that accurate there, you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the day of the stated income loans, I think I may have done a couple of those myself, but I think it's a lot different. I mean, we're at a peak again, and prices are high, and the market's hot. But obviously there's going to be fluctuations in the market, but I don't think that we're going to see the same type of correction that happened before, especially here in Southern Oregon. Southern Oregon's a hot spot, and there's a lot of buyers coming into town.
So tell me what you guys think is happening here, because we've been following this, year after year, and we've had now. How long has it been where the low inventory versus the high demand that we're seeing? It's been going on for really several years now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me what you're seeing out there in the market, fellas, because you're out there every day working at it. Tell me what you're just seen overall.
What's been consistent over the years is the flock of Californians that migrate into our market, and for good reason. People want to get out of that market, are able to sell their houses at high prices and buy cheap here and still have money to live in this wonderful valley. It's cheap compared to other places in the country, and it's beautiful. And we have 4 full seasons, and it's no wonder people come from California to Southern Oregon. And the big problem here is not finding those qualified buyers. It's finding the right homes to pair them up with, because they're in short supply. And
that's what you're seeing, right? I mean, that's all over the place.
Oh yeah, I mean we've just got a big backlog of buyers, and just not enough properties to go around, and so that's where we see multiple offer situations and prices increasing and so forth.
Is you're seeing the MLS stats show that about 40% of the sales in Jackson and Josephine County are from out-of-state people. moving here. So another 60% are from local people moving or upgrading or
Right.
up and down the circle that goes there. So the Californians, are they retired, or tell me, are they families, or who are the people that you're seeing that you're dealing with who are moving here from there or from outside the area? We'll start there first.
Well, we get a lot of traffic on our website from out of state. We do a lot of marketing out of state, and a lot of the buyers coming in. It seems like a good majority. There's a lot of retirement or planning for retirement,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably the majority for this area.
And as technology advances, a lot of people with high-paying jobs from California are able to work remotely here from their desktop
Yes.
and their cell phone. And
Yes, that's true.
And I've sold a couple of properties where clients bring their kids out of the California school systems to
And
bring
they
them
want
in.
to come into these school systems here. Yes.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
they still maintain their high-paying jobs just remotely. And this area is becoming more and more affluent with all the vineyards and the affluent people coming in from California and basically bringing their money with them.
Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of just rural properties? Let's talk about marijuana for just a minute, because we obviously talk about that on the show a lot, different times. Have you seen that slow down? It looks like the statistics are showing that the rural property boom, which we call, we kind of the last gold rush, has seemed to slow down. Do you agree with that? Is that what you're seeing too?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it seems like the rural properties take a little bit longer to sell. There was a big rush of people and businesses that were looking for properties to grow on. But I think a lot of what happened is a lot of people realized that it's not as easy to purchase land with bags of cash, and a lot of people want to do owner carry type purchases, and banks aren't lending for that, so it became a lot more difficult. And so there's still some big companies coming from Colorado and Washington that are backing various buyers,
different grows and different things. It's creating its own set of issues and problems, as you well know, isn't it?
Sure. And, one thing that's interesting about the marijuana buyers is typically these guys are looking for rural properties, and you got to get up into a decent price range in order to find something. And over the years, in the years past, you deal with a client who's looking at a $400,000 or $500,000 property with a large down payment. They're typically a pretty sophisticated buyer. What I found that's a little bit frustrating with the marijuana folks is you find a lot of runners for the people who have the money, and they're not
Yes.
nearly as sophisticated, but they're out there with a goal of finding a property and just not educated well enough to be able to buy one efficiently.
I think also with the laws, everything's changing so fast and adjusting that people don't know which way to go. What kind of zoning do we need? This and that, and so it's making it a little bit more difficult. And what's going to happen in 6 months or a year from now? So making those kind of purchases makes it difficult.
Yeah. The rules are getting a little clearer, and slowly they're working them out. But my question is, there's so much being grown, and where is it all going to go? And this is the issue, I think, that is being created by these large commercial grows that are being approved.
Right.
I mean, you've got the glut of this, and this is going to be the first harvest season coming up in the next few months here in this valley. And where's all this going to go? Because it certainly can't be consumed by the people of Oregon. I mean, there's just no way. There's so much of it. Remember, Jackson County has 35% or 9% of the population of the state, and almost over a third of the grows so far. So it's still I think the jury is still out, isn't it, on
There's a lot of
whether this is
uncertainty
going on?
with
There's
it.
just there's no certainty.
There's no certainty, and I've talked to people in the know, and it seems like Colorado is years ahead of us, even though they've just legalized it a couple of years prior to us. But it'll be interesting to see how it develops, because I think it's here to stay, and I think it's going to be a large part of our industry for a number of years.
Well, Oregon, unlike Colorado, we are allowed to grow our own here in our own individuals and things like that, and so that really does change the dynamics.
Well, and I think
go ahead.
Well, and I think Colorado really was backing that industry and supportive of that industry. Where here in Oregon, I think there's, especially in our area, there's a lot of fight against it. Up north, I think there's a little bit more acceptance, but here in Jackson County, I think there's a little bit push against it with the the local governments and so forth.
Well, it's certainly going to affect real estate. If I asked Lennox Scott when he was down, how has recreational marijuana in Washington State affected real estate. And you looked at me, the funniest thing, he says, you're the first person who's asked that question. I've not heard any of it. So, it's different locations, different issues. We're talking with Jake Rockwell and Rocky Primo today on the Real Estate Show on a John L. Scott Market Watch show here today. And let's look at that for a minute. I mean, you look around the market, we talk about low inventories and high demand. That sets prices high. It sets a lot of things on. It's not even across the board. I mean, that's the one thing I think we learned. It's not every location is having the same kinds of problems. You look at these, Jake and Rocky, what is the market snapshot telling us around that buyers and sellers need to be aware of, you think?
Well, there's certainly an inventory issue, but the market in general is surprisingly in tune with value, and they always have been. I've always been surprised by that. And the market's going to determine where values go, because at a certain point, payments become sensitive, and things are compromised.
Yeah.
And in fact, we were talking about over here, it sounds like, according to these new stats, East Medford looks like it's flattening out a little bit in values and property values. And I think a lot of times people might desire East Medford, but may make a compromise because pricing might be more relaxed in another area.
Yeah, it's like a buyer fatigue, and you see the growth in some of the outlying areas where you see prices. And don't get me wrong, I mean, houses are selling, the market's hot in East Medford, but it doesn't mean that the prices are skyrocketing. Like, you're still seeing some double-digit increases in other areas. But I think on the last two reports I saw, East Medford actually, flatten out on the actual price increases.
Well, that's probably pretty good, because certainly the new construction is taking place. Most of it is taking place in East Medford. If you look at one of the cool things I like about when we have our JLS shows is that this market snapshot on available inventory tells a lot about what's going on. And if you look at this thing again, and this is the last month, during the month of August. If you look at August in Jackson County, what in that $150,000 to $250,000 price range, the available inventory is basically, less than a month.
Less than a month, yeah.
$250,000 to $350,000, less than a month. I mean, those are where most of the market action takes place, correct?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first, yeah.
Yeah. If you go higher, though, Jake and Rocky, it tells you some other stories, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you still have a pretty, all across the board, you have a pretty low inventory, and even getting up to 500,000 range, you're still under a couple months of inventory.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the pending sales in Jackson, Josephine County, or Jackson County anyway, from August, just take the month of August, the pending sales compared to a year ago were up 35%, which is pretty high, I think.
Well, I think a lot of pricing is relaxed because, in real estate, there's no crystal ball, there's no blue book. We evaluate properties based on comparable sales, and there's no two homes that are alike. But what's consistent is sellers will always challenge the market, and regardless of the pricing recommendation, people want the highest amount in the shortest amount of time. And again, you test that against the open market, and that'll determine the result. So I think a lot of this is everybody knows the market's been hot. It's been hot for a long time with a lot of momentum. And some sellers out there, I think, might be getting a little greedy, and that's where we're seeing the slowdown. And I wouldn't call it a slowdown just yet, but it may be a little bit of relaxing in the pricing.
Sellers think that every seller, including myself, we think our place is worth more than it actually really is, right?
Sure.
And the reality of it is sometimes a very sobering kind of thing.
Sure.
Even in a market like this, right?
And really, getting your home sold is just the first step. It really, more often than not, involves financing, and the home has to appraise, meaning there has to be legitimate comparables out there that'll support the value. And so overpricing a home can have a pretty big negative impact on a seller if even if they are able to achieve a sale. Oftentimes they won't get the appraised value they need.
Let me ask you fellas about out-of-state buyers. I mean, I clients and sellers, you hear this all the time from them. Some Californian is going to come up here and pay my price because, they're selling high down there. Just as you said, Rocky, they're selling high down here, and they're going to come up here and they're going to pay my price. But my experience with it is that these people are not stupid. I mean, they're not going to throw their money away just because you want that.
That's interesting you say that, because I think I've heard that in the last couple of weeks by several sellers, thinking that someone will pay that price, and yeah, you're right. I mean, they if they're working with a realtor's going to educate them on what houses are worth, and and if they're financing, that's going to be an important issue on them being able to obtain the financing.
Yeah. Well, we said about pending sales were up 35%. New listings were up 12% during that same time, but that's still a 20% gap difference.
Right.
Even though they're up, the demand is higher than what the new listings are coming. So it still continues to be that seller's market. Average days in the market, 43 days. Wasn't it, John L. Scott, I think we had, was it July or August that I think in our office, was it 76% of sales were like within 30 days?
Yeah, I think so.
That's just remarkable when you think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll continue here. We're talking with Jake Rockwell and Rocky Primo on the Real Estate Show today, and a John L. Scott Market Watch show. We're going to take a break. We're coming right back with more statistics and what may happen here in the real estate market in the coming fall months. And they're right upon us now. All that and much more still ahead. We're coming right back right after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED. September the 10th is our date. Pete Belcastro here with you today, and thanks for joining us on the Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend is going to be a good one. That football season underway, the Ducks and Beavers and all that kind of activity going on. It is. I think the fall is always my favorite time of the year, isn't it? Weather's great. Well, raining nice in the forecast some days soon. This is the longest stretch I think I've ever seen around here where we haven't had any rain. We didn't have a thunderstorm all summer long, and here we are now mid-September, and still we haven't had any rain. Hey, today on the Real Estate Show, it's a John L. Scott Market Watch. We're with Jake Rockwell and Rocky Primo of the Rockwell Group at John L. Scott, and hearing their ideas of what's going on here in the market around us. And as we say, it is a market that is robust to say the least. High demand and low inventory is really kind of the theme that we're playing with. If you guys had as you talk to clients right now, is it a good time to buy, sell, or to invest right now? What's your advice to folks that are out there? Because I know we all come across people really wanting to do something. There's a lot of activity and a lot of interest.
I think it's an excellent time to buy or sell. Honestly, the Rogue Valley, I think it's poised for growth, especially if you look at all the commercial development and growth that's been put into the Medford and surrounding areas. There's a lot of people, Super Walmart, for example, or Walmart, they put in 2 brand new Super Walmart facilities. Another one out in Eagle Point just over the last, 10 years.
Yeah.
Costco is moving. The infrastructure for the freeways have been developed and improved. Even Dick's Sporting Goods, I noticed coming up.
That's right.
Coming up 99 the other day, it has a magnificent signage right there up 99. Yeah. So, and not to mention the vineyards, and again the Californians and the hospitals and the beauty of the Rogue Valley. So, coupled with the population problem and housing shortage, I see tremendous long-term opportunity here in the Rogue Valley. In the short term, interest rates are lower than they've ever been. And it'd be a fantastic opportunity for people to sell high and maybe upgrade at a lower interest rate and maybe even achieve the same payment, but an improved home.
Yeah, Jake's saying that too. That's important that the loan is really the critical part of this component, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it comes down to what people can afford, and that's where if rates increase in a year, nobody knows what's going to happen with rates. We know that prices have gone up a little bit on real estate, and if they continue to rise a little bit and rates go up, then it's going to change what people can buy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely is.
And as far as investors and investment type properties, I work with a lot of investors and rental properties, and here in the valley, occupancy rates are extremely low, and people are fighting for rentals, and so we're seeing a lot of people jumping into the market and buying rental properties and investment properties and so forth.
And not to mention the rents are increasing like crazy, and it just makes the properties pencil better.
Mm-hmm. So actually, so many times, if you're paying a high rent, you probably could afford your own home, and of course, obviously, it's a better deal than renting.
And there's a lot of renters that don't quite realize that financing's loosened up enough to where a lot of people can actually finance. We've got a couple in escrow now that had no idea, and when we met with them, they easily were able to finance and purchase a home.
And it's interesting too. A lot of people that lost homes through foreclosure or short sale, whatever it may have been, during the housing crash have already recovered and they're eligible for new financing. So
Yeah, I think it was what 96% of Oregon homeowners are now above water, compared to what they were, one time, which was not very good. So 96, and maybe that figure could be even higher. That was a couple of months ago. So we have recovered from that. There's no question about that. We've recovered from 2000 and from the crash.
oh, absolutely.
And it's now it's how far we're going. How long can this continue at the
Sure.
rate that it is? The only thing I'm concerned is two things, and I want your opinion on these, Jake and Rocky. Rental and rental rates are horrid right now. There's not enough rental properties. Do you see investors, builders, anybody investing in buying and purchasing or building of more rental units in the area or duplexes, things like that? Because that's a critical shortage right here.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of it, but
Not much.
we have been, I have talked to potential clients that are looking for large parcels that can do high density, multifamily type apartment buildings, and so I think that's coming. I don't know of any specific projects right now, but I believe that's in the works, and there may be some projects underway with other people.
There's got to be some because we don't have enough of it, and we're seeing. I've been working with some clients who are just looking for older clients looking for even manufactured homes in a park, and you can't find them.
No.
And now some of these parks are raising rates on these poor people, which is just outrageous to me. And we really have it's great when you got a lot of money and you can get the place you want, right? But it's the other people that struggle in trying to do this that is really, I think, concerning to a lot of us there.
Yeah, I'm really honestly astonished by the rent for in-park homes that these parks are charging for
I know.
the people. It's $500-600 a month for the space rent, and they're committed because they purchased the home. And I'm not sure how that's all going to shake out, but yeah, I've seen that as a problem for sure.
And it's people who want to live independently, and where are these people going to go? And that's going to be an issue, especially as the baby boomers, which is my generation, as we continue to retire. And there's thousands and thousands of us, and I don't know where in the world we're going to go as you downsize and get away from your places and where you're going to go. Now, I've heard also many people say, I haven't even begun to even thinking about moving because I have no place to go.
Sure.
And that's an issue that a lot of people, I'd like to sell my place, but I look out there and I got no, where am I going to go?
Yeah,
Is that true?
I've been hearing that a lot myself.
That can be challenging trying to accomplish a sale and a purchase simultaneously, but we're experienced and we can help people with that. And a lot of it's just down to pricing because regardless of what's happening in the market, a well-priced home will sell quickly
Absolutely.
and with little problems. And if you counsel people appropriately, then we can accomplish our goals.
Yeah, which is of course get person the right what they want. In the sell prices, and back to in those statistics that come out of here, buyers or sellers right now are getting almost 96.5% of their asking price.
Yep.
That's pretty high. And
Yeah.
that's showing that maybe they're pricing it right. Maybe that could be.
Yeah, and as Rocky was talking about earlier, the market will really help you determine. And so, I mean, when we're pricing a property, yeah, we'll have a range of price, and you can kind of start on an upper end range, and the market will tell us in a week. I mean, just over the weekend, we had 3 new properties hit the market, and all 3 at or above asking price within a few days.
Really? And what price range were those, Jake?
Those were 2 to 300,000.
So they're in that range where
Yep,
the inventory
exactly.
is like less than a month.
Mhm.
So you put those on the market. You got boom, you got showings, you got everything on those.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Immediately.
Okay.
It's
And-
always sorry to interrupt you there, but it's always been so interesting to me how sensitive the market is to pricing in that price range. I mean, if one overprices their home by $5,000-10,000, you can miss the market entirely. And while neighbors are selling their properties in a day or two, and maybe you're getting a bunch of showings, it's just that small pricing adjustment that means either selling it quickly or waiting for the perfect buyer. And that can be a big detriment in long term.
And waiting for the perfect buyer, doesn't really work, does it? It's really got to be smart if you want to sell it. And so the price range you're saying, you're following the market, aren't you?
Sure.
I mean, you're seeing that same type of thing.
Yeah.
What are you telling people in the upper end? I know you've got listings up in that end up there. That's a totally different market than the others.
Yeah, I mean, we show them the stats, and you have to really kind of dial in the price a little bit better, and look at the comparables, and it kind of goes with some of the rural properties. We've got rural properties that are getting lots of activity, but it's there's more competition out there. So if there's more listings out there, there's more for buyers to choose from, and so houses will sit a little bit longer unless they're aggressively priced.
Yeah, in the month supply of inventory, and this is what we've been telling you for so many months now. In the month of August was down 32% from a year ago. So there's only a 2 month supply of inventory overall, and available homes per buyer down 21% in the month of August from a year ago. So there's just pretty simple, isn't it? Supply and demand. There's fewer homes available, so the prices are going to be high by what sells, isn't it? You got to get more listings to change it. Isn't that the only way to do it? I think. I mean, I don't think how you're going to do it. Anyway, we're on the Real Estate Show. One more segment to go. We're with Jake Rockwell and Rocky Primo on the Real Estate Show for a John L. Scott Market Watch. Don't forget, you can check out any of our shows at realestateshowOregon.com. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED. It's September the 10th of 2016. Pete Belcastro here with you. Next week, the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors program will be along. 2 weeks from today, we'll update you on mortgage interest rates and what's going on with those and, things like that. Got shows coming up on insurance. I didn't realize how many times insurance can bobble up a deal. I've been hearing horror stories on some of that from different insurance people. So we're going to have a show on that a little bit later on. And also one about, we will do a show on the issue of these rents in manufactured home parks. It's there's thousands and thousands of people that live in them in the calls. I've never had, seriously, fellas, Jake and Rocky here, I had just a listing of a manufactured home. I had probably 50 people call me and write over internet and stuff of that one particular home.
Yeah.
I mean, the demand was so great, and I've never seen anything like that. So obviously the demand is out there, as we all know. We're talking Jake Rockwell and Rocky Primo on the Real Estate Show today from the Rockwell Group. They're at John L. Scott on our Market Watch show today. Fellows, here in our last segment, as you look around, do you see this thing slowing down? Let me think. Here we're in mid-September. If we're here a month from now, 2 months from now, what do you guys think what you're going to be seeing here?
Yeah, I don't see a slowdown coming in through the fall much. I mean, there might be a less inventory, less listings, but from our standpoint, I'm seeing the same kind of traffic still on our websites and the possible leads, and actually in the last week we're seeing I'm getting a lot of phone calls for people wanting to list their homes, and I haven't seen really much of a shift yet.
Okay, all right. Rocky?
And over the years, there's always, regardless of whether the market's a buyer's market or a seller's market, there's always a strong and continuous current in real estate. It's just a matter of if you're priced in that current or not. Mm-hmm. And I don't anticipate a slowdown at all. Who knows what's going to happen with interest rate or pricing, but the activity is strong, and it's the draw from the area that brings the people in.
Mm-hmm. So you guys are saying is the demand is not going down anytime soon, really across the board.
Well, I mean, yeah, and the stats are showing that. I mean, that's why we have such low inventory, because there's so many more buyers than there are sellers.
Well, that's
another interesting thing here is the retirement communities. They're bursting at the seams, and they just keep building and improving. And again, there's a lot of people that require those kind of amenities, and Southern Oregon in particular, the Rogue Valley offers it. So
there's a lot of us wanting to downsize or right size and change, and I agree with you guys. I don't think it's after watching this every month now for so long, I don't think it's going to slow down for the fall either. And who knows even about winter ahead, but as long as interest rates stay relatively low the way they are, the demand is certainly going to be there. It'll be interesting to see how it all comes out of the end. The only thing that concerns me is that if we get the pricing up in the double digits again, we're really going to, fall off a cliff at some point. We can't have that double-digit increases in values like we saw before, and we come close to that a few times. Last year we didn't, but who knows where that might be based on demand. Jake, you got some listings. I know that you guys sell a lot of properties around. You want to share anything with some of our listeners today on a listing or something? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. As you know, we've talked a little bit about lower price ranges and investment properties, and we've got a couple great listings. One on 1230 West 8th, which is a great little 2-bedroom, 1-bath on a huge lot. Has the possibility to put an extra unit or two on it, and priced at 156.9. Just a great little property for an investor or a first time home buyer. We've also got one over in East Medford on Woodrow Lane, 1145 Woodrow Lane. Also on a large lot with a huge backyard, 3-bedroom home, priced under $200,000 at 187.9. We've got some other rural properties as well. A great house on Old Stage Road that's at 2,500 plus square feet on 5 acres, 2-car garage with a shop for $450,000.
And your sellers, I just out of curiosity, are they moving away? Are they just changing what they're doing, or kind of just a curiosity there?
It's a mix. I mean, there's some that are moving away, but I think some are downsizing. Actually, I met with a couple sellers in the last week, and I think both of them were looking to downsize.
I don't want you to, there was just on those stats then in just rural properties as we were getting ready to go here, they were down a quarter of sales, 25% fewer sales in the rural area during that last 3-month period. And don't forget the distress sales, even though they continue to make up a smaller and smaller portion of our market. Again, homepath.com is where you can go, and that's where the Fannie Mae listings are, and there were 4 of them. Again, this week there's probably another 7 that come on there. So there are out there, and again, you have to have a broker to help you do that. But if you're a first-time buyer or home buyer, you got a great chance to get something like that. Right?
Yeah, and there's a couple other sites too. Auction.com has them, and Hubzoo.com, so you can see foreclosures on there too.
Yeah, they're still out there.
Oh yeah,
not very many of them, but they're still out there. It makes a good sometimes make a good buy for somebody as well. Well, fellas, you think this is going to be an interesting? 2016 has been a fascinating year. You guys have had a great year.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been busy. It's been pretty much nonstop.
And your business is growing. I mean, you kind of expanded out in the office there, haven't you?
I think
more room.
as of today, I believe we've got 8 people on the team between agents and administration, and the phones are ringing, and so things are good, and just trying to keep up. And
well, you guys have built a terrific real estate business. And I admire people that do that and watch you guys, and it's great to see you do so well and to represent and be a good spokespersons for the real estate world, because we need more of that. That we got to have more people involved with it, and it takes team effort to do it, as you know. And so good for you guys that you're doing so well in the market. Again, coming up for you, the shows coming up in the future. Next week, the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors will be in here with one of their shows as we continue their great series of what we teach realtors. We think that listeners and buyers and sellers need to know as well, because we're all in it together, and it works better when we do it together, right, Rocky? I mean, that's
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So, fellas, we do appreciate that very much, and I'm hoping that if we get back together again, that you'll continue that the market will continue to go. I'm just curious as to how long it will continue. Agents are busy. There's a lot of movement going on, and that's really good for all of us. I just don't know which shortages, and I don't know how we're going to change it. How do we do this? You guys have any idea? I mean,
more listings.
More listings. We need more property to be developed. We need easier rules to allow people to add additional dwelling units on their properties, which would help alleviate some shortages and increase values of properties. Don't you think? If we had to do that, I mean, why can't we do that? We got to get government has got to let the housing industry, because nobody speaks in its behalf. So we got to do it as realtors, I think, because the problems are there and we need to get them solved. Rocky and Jake, thanks for being here, you guys. Appreciate it very much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having us.
That'll do it for the Real Estate Show here in KMED, September the 10th. Hey, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next Saturday right here on KMED. Don't forget, check it out, realestateshoworegon.com.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Oregon Water Conservation District and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only real estate show on KMED.